everything with me and everything that I work with my clients on is it starts with identity. That is the most important thing that for entrepreneurs, for ourselves, and for our businesses is to really understand and realize that identity. And everything else can start to fall in line and get into alignment with that. A lot of entrepreneurs, when they're starting to sell their service, they say, oh, I do this, I do that, I sell this, I sell that. It's wrong. You got that wrong. What is your client's desire? What are they hoping to achieve? You sell that. And with that, you're aligning yourself to what your clients actually want, what their desire is, what their end goal is.
I'm like, I don't know. Why does the sun rise in the east and set in the west? That's the way God made it. Let's not wonder about that.
Thank you very much, Aaron. That is what I'm going to wonder about for the next week. I really appreciate that.
Well, that's where I'm going to say, stop thinking about that and get back to work.
This is the Clark Connection Podcast, where 12 years of coaching championships meets real-world leadership. Coach Clark broke through at the highest levels. Now he's bringing you the playbook. Every week, real leaders, real wins. Real strategies you can use Monday morning. If you're done with theory and ready for results, this is your show. You in? Let's go!
And welcome back to the Clark Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Clark, aka The Coach. And whether you're joining us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon Music, thank you for spending part of your day with us. Today's guest is Matthew Sayles, an entrepreneur, business coach, and someone who is passionate about helping business owners build companies with purpose, clarity, and long-term impact. But before we get into that, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. The Clark Connection Podcast is powered by Coach Clark Leadership and Development. At Coach Clark Leadership and Development, we help businesses, churches, schools, and organizations develop strong leaders through leadership training, executive coaching, team building, and keynote speaking. Our mission is simple: help leaders grow so their people, teams, and organizations can too. To learn more about our services, visit CoachAClark.com. Quick question. If someone asked ChatGPT, Gemini, or Perplexity for the best company in your industry, would your business even be mentioned? More and more, customers aren't searching the way they used to. They're asking AI for recommendations. And if your business isn't showing up there, you're missing opportunities before people ever visit your website. That's where TrueScaler comes in. They specialized in generative engine optimization, or GEO, helping businesses become more visible across today's AI platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and more. If you're ready to prepare your business for the future of search, visit TrueScaler.com and learn how GEO can help your business get found where customers are searching next. This episode of the Clark Connection Podcast is proudly brought to you by Hubbard Flooring Studio. Leadership, growth, and success all start with a strong foundation. And that's exactly what you'll find at Hubbard Flooring Studio. Vicki and her team help homeowners and businesses create spaces that combine quality, craftsmanship, and style. Whether you're updating a single room, remodeling your entire home, or finishing a new construction project, Hubbard Flooring Studio offers flooring solutions and custom blinds designed to bring both beauty and functionality to your space. If you're ready to work with a team that takes pride in getting the details right, visit hubbardflooringstudio.com or call 225-924-1582. Shout out to Steadfast Electric for supporting the show. With hurricane season here, now is the time to think about protecting your home and family. BJ and his team specialize in whole home generators that keep your lights on, your food cold, and your household running when the power goes out. Learn more at steadfastelectric.com or call 225-364-9218. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Bob Smith, chiropractic internist, for sponsoring today's episode. Dr. Bob focuses on identifying the root cause of pain and dysfunction, not just covering up symptoms. If your body isn't performing the way it should, This is the kind of care that looks deeper. Learn more at brspine.com or call 225-291-2626. Dr. Bob Smith, finding the root cause, not just chasing symptoms. A big thanks to Automate Integrate Professional Services for backing the show. Andrew helps businesses simplify, automate, and integrate their systems so leaders stop wasting time on manual work and start focusing on growth. Visit automate-integrate.com or email Andrew at automate-integrate.com. Automate Integrate, systems that work so you don't have to overwork. A huge thank you again to all of our sponsors for helping make conversations like this possible. And if you haven't already done so, take just a second to press that subscribe button to the podcast, leave us a review, and make sure you're following us on social media at Coach Clark Leadership so you never miss a new episode, leadership content, or updates on everything happening here at Coach Clark Leadership. Now, if you've ever felt like you're constantly busy but making the progress you want, if you've struggled with the distractions, wondered whether you're investing wisely in yourself or in your business, or just simply felt the weight of loneliness that often comes with entrepreneurship, this episode's for you. Matthew Sayles shares his wisdom on why your identity shapes your leadership, why focus is one of the greatest competitive advantages you can develop, and why success isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. We also talk about leadership, building teams, making intentional trade-offs, as well as serving clients while creating systems that multiply your impact, and how faith can keep you grounded in a community with the highs and lows of entrepreneurship. This is one of those conversations that'll challenge the way you think while giving you practical steps you can put into action immediately. So, without further delay, here is my conversation with Matthew Sayles. And Matthew, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks to inviting me out. Thanks for inviting me on here. It's always great talking to you. Now the viewers get to get a little bit of behind the scenes action on what our conversations normally look like.
Right. Yeah. No, I think what do you always joke? Our 10-minute conversations turn into an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah.
You messaged me, hey man, can we have a chat for in a few minutes, just a short chat? Yeah. Hour and a half later. Sorry, Aaron, I've got to go. I've got to go pick up the kids. Wife's going to shoot me. Yep. You always get me in trouble, man. No, it's really good conversations. I love it.
I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, you're not the first person I've gotten in trouble, and I know you won't be the last.
There we go. Fantastic.
And so, yeah, I've told everybody you're a business coach, entrepreneur. I got a lot of stuff going on. So, like, what exactly does that mean, being a business coach / entrepreneur?
I'm a glutton for punishment. I think that's probably sums it all up. I like pain. And I like to inflict it on myself. No, in all seriousness, I am
That's
just
about right.
It really is. I am just so passionate about the startups, the small businesses. It's my personal belief that every single one of you small businesses and founders, you are essentially salt and light to the communities that you are living in, and you uplift the communities and bring fruitfulness to the communities. And so it is just my personal passion to create systems and processes and even sub-businesses that really help build up and underpin everything that you do and help you find your voice, your unique voice and perspective and align that with the people that you're supposed to be connecting with.
Okay, cool. So do you have like an example of that? Like, hey, this is like something that I help a client or customer put together for? Like, does that make sense what I'm asking?
It does. So, I mean, I think every time we talk, I'm like, oh yeah, well I have this business. Oh yeah, well I have this business. And so I have a website agency that essentially creates a platform that reflects your voice, your tone, and essentially gets it out to the masses and connects with your potential clients. Um, we spoke about a platform that I'm developing right now that creates a stage for entrepreneurs and for founders to be able to practice their pitch, practice their message, and hone it with other peers, and use AI and peer review to provide actionable advice and feedback that you can apply for the next go. And then from that point, we create opportunities to platform you that are live streamed out there. So I create multiple different platforms, different businesses, because it is my passion to really to help the small businesses and the founders succeed and thrive.
And that's important because I know a lot of people that are listeners of my show that are small businesses, entrepreneurs, and that's a huge thing that for us is just trying to be able to, all right, how do I get this to happen? How do I get that to happen? How do I, and that's one of my passions too, is the small to medium sized business with new and emerging leaders, because I just feel like that they're so hungry to do well that I could basically tell them, yeah, once a day you just need to stand on your head. They lean up against the wall, stand on your head, and you'll make $1 million this year, and they'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're desperate for advice, desperate for action steps that we can just put into place now. I mean, really, it is. I'm a believer. I'm a Christian, but I feel like whether you're a believer or not, whatever faith you are, it is a step of faith starting your own business. You can do all the research and do all the preparation, but end of the day, you are taking a step of faith, and you are stepping into the unknown, and it is a lonely environment where most of your peers that you previously had, they don't know how to relate, they don't know how to connect, and I love to connect with everybody like that, because I know I've lived it. I've lived the lonely life. I know how painful and how hard it is, and how critical it is to have people around you who are going through similar things. How critical it is to have people who go on before you and can share their advice and their experiences. Learn from their lessons, whether it was a successful lesson or a lesson from their failure. It's still a lesson. It's things that you can learn and apply to your own journey, and grow and become successful yourself.
Yeah. And so when you say it's a step of faith, what do you mean by a step of faith? Like starting your own business, why is that a step of faith?
Because you don't know for sure how it's going to turn out, do you? You feel like you're doing the right thing. All right. And as a Christian, we do take steps of faith all the time. We believe that this is what God is asking us to do, and we take action. We're not necessarily sure of the outcome, but we do it anyway because we're trusting the Lord. And so as entrepreneurs, you have to take a step of faith. You don't know the outcome. It's not a certainty. And so you just have to go and say, it's going to have to work out. I'm putting it all on the line, and we'll see how it goes. And you learn and you journey and you figure things out as you go.
Oh yeah. No, and it is because I saw somebody, what I was trying to remember what they said the other day, and it was something like that. What it's like owning your own business. It's like, woohoo, everything is great. The next moment, sell everything, sell the truck. I'm done. I quit. This is the worst idea in the world.
Yep. Actually, there's there's the British comedy show that made a really cool picture, and I'll have to send you the GIF later. But it's really cool. But basically, they do you know the electric cattle
The
fences?
cattle prods.
Yeah, the electric cattle prods. All right. So they tied one up to a bare wire in a really odd direction. And what they had to do is they had to take a hoop and just guide it all the way through. And if they hit the sides, it would short and then shock themselves. And so you have this, yeah, exactly. So you get going and it starts smooth, and you're like, okay, I got this. Then you hit the side, and you're like, oh, and then because it shocked you, you hit the other side, and then you hit another side, and the next thing you do is you're just like, I just want it over as fast as possible, and just partway through, you're like, this is the funniest thing ever, and then like you're probably about 3/4 through, and you're like, oh, please Lord, make it stop, I'm gonna die, and then you finally make it to the end, and you know what? Maybe entrepreneurship's like that. And I think you start out and you're like, okay, let's do it. And then it shocks you, and then it shocks you, and you're like, ah, and you get to a point where like, you know what, I'm going to commit, I'm going to go for it, and I'm just going to put my head down and see it through. And the reward at the end is really amazing.
Oh yeah. And I think one of the other things that people often feel or believe too, like, oh, like you own your own business, you must have a ton of money.
No, I have less than you. It all goes back into different businesses. It really is comical. It just all gets reinvested, recycled. I think the amazing thing is, I just feel really blessed to be, I suppose, financially comfortable and not really whacked. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you learn really quick what you need to spend your money on and what you really just wanted to spend your money on. And there's seasons where you have to cut everything back and only, truly understand what you need to live on. And it really does change your perspective. I think, personally, I feel really blessed to work in many different countries, and some of them are not as well off as the UK or the US. Some of them, the struggles are real, and getting food on the table is real, and it really just changes your mindset. To think, okay, really, what do I need? Really, what does my family need? All these extra things, they're just nice to haves. And so when you ring fence just those needs, and you become appreciative of the having the nice to haves, the blessings, but it also puts you in a place where if circumstances need, you can let it go. If opportunity comes by, you can let them go. If you're prompted to sow into other people's lives, you can let it go, because it doesn't own you anymore. And that's something that really, like a lot of people, especially in this day and age, they let the things own them. And something that when we really get, if you really want to be successful, you have to say, okay, this is the core importance. Nothing else owns me. Nothing else has control over me. And it essentially makes you like a fortress that nothing else can penetrate, can shake, because you're grounded in, for me, you've grounded in my faith, and then everything else is built upon that. It's not shaky ground. It's not something that can be knocked down easily. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Like, what were some things that you had to cut back on? You said, hey, as an entrepreneur, you start cutting back. I know that for us, it became a lot of unnecessary events. So, about the time that I got started with everything that while my son was still racing motocross at the time, unfortunately he'd got injured, but They're like, we haven't really raced since. Occasionally we'll go ride or something. And he just got into golf, which for people to think, oh, golf's an expensive sport. Not compared to motocross. It's like they pennies on the dollar. So that was stuff I started looking at more as, we don't go out to eat like we used to. Things of that nature.
And that's actually a really interesting comment about the golf, because I think really you could go and you could golf and that be a hobby that you spend a lot of money on, or you reframe your perspective and you see it as an investment. You can see it as a networking opportunity. How many business deals happen on the golf course, right?
Yeah.
And so again, part of that is now you just reframe that. So if things changed, if circumstances changed and I couldn't go golfing, I'd be like, all right, whatever. But I also still can embrace that because I'm like, this is part of my business plan. These are business opportunities that happen. These are connections that are made, valuable relationship connections that are made while we're out enjoying nature, hitting a ball around. It's fantastic.
If you're getting value from today's episode, take a second to like, follow, and subscribe to the Clark Connection podcast so you'll never miss a future conversation on leadership, growth, and success. Let's dive back into today's topic. Right. Yeah. And so for that, it was more of like, hey, this is what he kind of picked to do as his sport hobby. So, I was my oldest son did competitive golf. So but at that same time we were doing the competitive motocross, and people were like, oh yeah, golf's expensive. I'm like, yeah, we spend maybe $100 on the weekend for competitive golf. Motocross, we're spending the $700-800
sure
per weekend when we race. Yeah, it's the cost difference. So just knowing that, hey, these are things that I know we had to cut back on trying to do that. But then like you said, looking at where can I save more money? What isn't important right now? And just start looking to cut, do I really need Netflix, HBO, Peacock, the Hulu, the Disney Plus? Do I really need all of those? Which ones are we mainly watching? Oh, these ones? Cool. The rest go.
That's right. And it's not to say that you shouldn't have a Netflix, subscription, but if you don't need it, you don't need it. And I think that the interesting thing is I heard I watched a video. One of the larger entrepreneurs talking about Steve Jobs. He talked about Steve's signal to noise ratio, and what that meant was how much other things consumed Steve Jobs' time versus what was productivity related or work related. And Steve's probably had just about 20% of his life, consumed with noise. Everything else was just really focused, and it's got to be productive. And this is a pattern of really highly successful people. And they even brought Elon Musk up into the conversation, and they think Elon Musk is probably the one person closest to 100% signal. The guy that the man wakes up and he's just go. Whether you're a fan of him or not, you cannot deny that he's an incredibly productive person. And he intentionally cut out all that other noise because he has such a strong vision. Now, do I think that's healthy? No, personally, but you have to find the right balance. And I think I think if we really sat down and thought about it, we'd probably realize that we take in much more noise in our own lives and our own time than we really should. And we entertain a lot more things than we probably should. And you can be far more productive than you really are.
No. I think that's good, because it made me think. I was trying to remember what it was that somebody told me once. They were like, "Hey, you can be good at golf or you can be good at life." But I think, like, I personally believe the work-life balance is nonsense. Like, I call balderdash on that. Like, oh yeah, I need work-life balance. I need work-life balance. So you need to be average. That's what you're telling me. You want to be average. Like, if I don't want to work with average people, I want to work with people who are okay with, like, hey, if I'm going to be the best business coach that I can be, well, I understand that I'm going to miss the family barbecue this weekend. Because, yeah, while it's fun and I enjoy going to the family barbecue, don't hear me wrong on that, but I've got to get ready for the week, and I've got a meeting with company A and company B and company C, and then I've got to finish this proposal. Because as the entrepreneur, you're like, if you want to be good, you gotta be focused. You got to zero in, like you were saying, cut out the noise. There is no work-life balance. You got to be good at something and bad at something.
And I think understanding that and making that distinction is really important. I think when we last had a chat, we talked about kind of naming things and the power of calling that out. And I think we need to be able to be reflective and be able to call these things out. So one thing for me is, I don't necessarily say, no, I'm not going to, I'm going to stop having the family barbecues. But I set my priorities. They are conscious decisions that I'm going to say, this part gets 100% of my engagement. So some people that I work with, they know that my children get 100, maybe 150% of my focus. If I'm going to, if they get a merit at school, I'm there. I'll stop. I'll go to school midday and I'm there, right? If I'm spending time, I'm engaging with them. I'm sewing into them because they are the priority. But at the same time, if I'm working, they can come in and be part of that process, but my focus is then work. And so they're participants in that, in that main activity. So wherever I go, I have to have full focus and be fully engaged on what I'm supposed to be doing at that time. And I just segment out and prioritize where that time goes.
And I think that's cool that you said, like, with your children. And that's one that I've started doing even though I've got a college age kid, a sophomore in high school. So, they'll come in, what you working on? Cool. Come look, I'm going to learn you something right now.
That's right.
And I know that's not grammatically correct, guys, but they get over it. So to all my English teachers out there, but when I go through and say, hey, here's what I'm doing, like on this screen, this is why I'm setting this up. Like, as I'm going to make this proposal, this is why I'm going to do this. Does this make sense?
Yeah. And
okay.
When I was a builder, my children learned.
I re-explained it.
Yeah. Absolutely. When I was a builder, my children learned how to build a house. They still know how to swing a hammer. They understand that. And it's not that I want them to go do building work. They're way too young for that. But they were part of that process. They understood that, hey, this is what Daddy's doing. This is one of his projects. He's building a house. Refurbishing a property. They engage in that process.
Yeah. And it's a cool learning experience for a young person to see and bring them in. And like we were talking about cutting stuff. So when being asked about certain things, okay, so we're making this amount of money. Our bills cost this amount of money. If we add that in there, what are you willing to give up to get that? Or what are you willing to go do to bring in the extra money to go do that? And so I think that's a huge, important thing to be able to teach, because they'll learn so much more and help them further on in life in general, just having to learn, because up until this point, they've never really had to. We've been pretty comfortable and always had a pretty good job.
Yeah. And I think that brings up another point really is, well, I love the book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he talks about, seeing things from everything's, an investment, whether it's investment towards who you are or investment towards where you're not, but it really makes me think like everything that we do is an investment. So when we talk about financially, right, I have my core amount that I have that I need. These are my needs. And then I have my income. And then everything else, I have to make the choice. What am I going to be invested in? Right? Am I investing in stuff? Am I investing in noise? Am I investing in fun? You could be investing into time with your family, and that is valuable, but you do that with intention. And by the way, I never thought that we'd be having a investment money talk in this session, but it's definitely not where I thought this conversation was going. But
that makes two of us.
But then what you can do is you can say, listen, I am taking X amount, and that is being reinvested intentionally into the marketing or into other parts of the business or into another business because I want to generate long-term passive income, into property. And so you segment this out intentionally. And what you're doing is you're just, as you sow in, you will start generating a return on those investments relationally and naturally when we start talking about building up cash flow slowly in the background. But you have to do it with intention. You have to know what you're spending it on.
A quick thank you to our premium sponsor, Hubbard Flooring Studio. Whether you're upgrading your floors, refreshing a room, or adding custom blinds to complete the look, Vicky and her team are committed to quality workmanship and exceptional service. Learn more at hubbardflooringstudio.com or call 225-924-1582. Let's get back to building better leaders. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I kind of want to go back something that you'd said at the beginning, the entrepreneur life it's lonely. What is it that makes it lonely?
First of all, especially when you start out, it can consume a lot of your time. But then also a lot of people, a lot of your peers, more often than not, do not know how to relate to what you're experiencing. And
so what do you mean by that when you say they can't relate to what you're experiencing?
I mean, unless you have a household full of entrepreneurs, they don't know what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. You can tell them, but they don't really know. They don't know that you've got 50 things on your mind that are growing and concerns and worries. It's just not in their perspective. It's not, they don't have the life experiences to be able to relate to that. And so a lot of what happens is these conversations and being like, okay, that's nice. All right. Or why can't you go do this? Why can't you do that? I mean, shouldn't you be successful by now? Shouldn't you see a return of all this time that you've invested on this in this business? What's going on? And
yeah. So funny one that happened the other day is somebody was asking me about the podcast, and they're like, "So you hadn't gone viral yet? You hadn't gone big yet?" And I was like, "I hadn't seen you like and share the video yet either." And it was like,
But I think that's the interesting thing is it's like, yeah, the podcast is a perfect example because you were on my podcast and we're going to release that episode soon. And I've got my own podcast. From the outset side, you could sit there and say, yeah, that's just wasted time. How much time are you wasting on talking to people online? You don't get the point. There are, it is an investment that you are intentionally making that does generate returns. I don't do it for myself, but it has impact that comes back. And I'm sure you can say the same.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, it's for, I mean, and that's kind of why I started mine. I wanted to be able to, as an entrepreneur, I started reaching out to a couple of like local TV stations and radio stations and like, hey, I'd love to be able to get my message out there and just kind of talk a little bit about what I do with leadership development and training. Like, okay, cool. It's $3,000 for 15 minutes. I was like, $3,000 for 15 minutes? People don't even watch it that much. Like, you guys have, like, are you serious? And I was like, I'll just start my own podcast and then call all my entrepreneur friends and get them on here and say, hey, I'm going to give you a platform and I'll go share it with people.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. 3 years later, 3 years after I started, because I got mad about it costing that much money. I was like, people don't listen to the radio, man.
Yep.
I think that's $3,000 worth.
I think that's the beautiful thing about entrepreneurs as well. Because I do the same thing. I just get upset about something. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to start my own. Forget it. I'm sick of this. I'm starting my own. Like, I cannot stand the way this is run. This was horrible. I could do it better. I'm going to start something up. And next thing you know, start up another business. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? What the world is wrong with me?
And 2 weeks later, Matthew is contemplating life in general. Why did he make this decision?
Yeah.
Like, maybe that should be the lesson. Don't make knee-jerk reactions.
Maybe that would be a good lesson for me to learn, sure.
Yeah, and I was about to say, once you figure out how to teach that, come learn it to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's good fun.
But I do think that is, part of, like you were saying, with the loneliness of it, is people don't know how to relate to you. They don't know how to, or they don't understand that, hey, yes, you have your own business. And so we see having a business as being this huge successful thing, but having this business is now like, okay, so I'm not only responsible for Dawn, Zachary, and Levi, and then our 2 dogs, and then the house note, and then the car note, but now I'm responsible for these other 3 people that I employ. I gotta get them. I gotta make sure they're getting food on the table. They are able to do whatever. And then you're essentially responsible for 4 families, not just 1.
Well, once you've taken on a client, now you're responsible for them as well.
Yeah. Oh, geez,
and you
don't even.
You got to make sure that that's successful.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Ugh. And it's not like we're, because I've sold a lot of other stuff in my time. It's not like, hey, I'm like, hey, here is this book. Let me sell you this book. Transaction over. With what we're doing,
absolutely,
we're selling something intangible almost, like that. You've got to get them to believe that, hey, this coaching, this training is, while it is expensive, it's more expensive to be ignorant without me.
Yeah. And I think that the thing is, and a lot of people, this goes back actually to some lessons that I learned a long time ago, back when I was, let's call it early 20s.
So a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. And what we would do is I worked for a hi-fi stereo shop, and what we were doing was we were selling things, but we weren't just selling things, right? We were selling an experience, a solution to somebody's problem. And I think that's the way a lot of people really don't understand when it comes to selling. If I sell a book, right, the value is the book. Okay. If I sell mowing a lawn, the value is mowing a lawn. But if I'm selling the experience that book gets me, or the ultimate goal of what mowing the lawn and doing all the weeding and everything, what that achieves for me, there's far greater value, because because that's what really people want. They ask you to mow the lawn, they ask you for a book, but what they're really looking for is the greater thing. There's the why. And a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're starting to sell their service, they say, "Oh, I do this, I do that, I sell this, I sell that." That's wrong. Got that wrong. It's like, what is your client's desire? What are they hoping to achieve? And I spoke to somebody this week, and they said, "Oh, I offer this, and well beyond my two hands." And I'm like, "But why are you listing all that?" I'm like, yes, you can still do all those things, but they all add up to one thing. They all add up to achieving what your client ultimately wants. So you sell that, and then you pick and choose which parts of those services and build that, fine. But you sell that. And with that, you're aligning yourself to what your clients actually want, what their desire is, what their end goal is. And when you do that, sales become much more natural. You're not selling them a widget. You are essentially acting like a guide to help them achieve what they actually want. And you're like, I will show you how to get to. I will pick things off the shelf, show you this is actually what you need to get to what you actually told me you want to get to. So I'm not trying to sell it to you. You told me. And that's the wonderful thing that I learned at that many years ago at that hi-fi shop, is that people actually wanted an experience. And what you do is you say, okay, this is their needs. They have these many things to hook up. This is the room, the size. They listen to this type of music. These are the things that add up to the needs. Okay. Well, based on what you told me, if you want this experience that you just described, now this is what you need. And I'm just saying, I'm just prescribing like a doctor. I'm just saying, hey, here, this is what you need. Take this pill, buy this receiver, buy this speaker, use these wires. These will get you what you are telling me that you want. Shall we move forward? And then it's like, then the question is like, oh, I can, I'm going to buy it piecemeal, one at a time, or I'll buy it all at once because I want it right now. It's not, and then it's not a no, because it's like, you told me what you want. This will get you there. And this is how we get there. And when they properly understand that, the sales process becomes completely different. You are just a guide helping them achieve what they just described to you.
Right. Yeah, I was about to say, I think you must have been in on my client meeting the other day, because I think we had that same discussion about the stop listing all 900 things that you do. But it is important. I know I'd had that because I'd had that with somebody as well, is, well, what all do you do? And I'm like, all right, I can list everything that I do, or I can talk to you, see what you need, and then say, okay, you need this, and this. Boom. Like you don't go, like you said, you don't go to the pharmacy and say, what all do you have back there? List everything for me. Today's episode is brought to you by TrueScaler. Search is changing. Customers aren't using Google anymore. They're asking AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity for recommendations. TrueScaler helps businesses show up in those AI-generated answers through generative engine optimization, so your company is easier to discover when it matters most. Learn more at TrueScaler.com because the future of search is already here. Now back to the conversation.
I love Donald Miller, and I love the way he describes it. Is like we need to start thinking like people's Yodas, and we are their Yodas, and we are helping Luke Skywalker, step into his calling, and we provide him the tools, the resources to be able to really do that.
Absolutely. And so as we're kind of getting close to time, one that I love to ask everybody, Matthew, I believe that all leaders are readers. Not all readers are leaders, but leaders are learners. They're constantly learning. They're constantly sharpening their skills. And so what would be one book that you would recommend that all leaders or entrepreneurs read?
Well, the one book that really I've taken and I've applied to my business as well is actually Atomic Habits. I think those concepts, they are gold to you personally, but if you can figure out how to unlock some of those principles into and apply them into the business world, I think they have exponential results. That's just me personally. I mean, I'm constantly quoting Atomic Habits.
Oh, it's an excellent, excellent book. And he makes it so simple. Like, it was one of those that it was real page turner. It was like, ooh, well, what does he say next? What does he say next? What does he say next? And I was like, oh, I read this whole book in like a week or something like that. It was crazy how quick I went through it. But yeah, just the different like accountabilities and how to create a new habit and all that good stuff. I thought it was excellent as well. So like, what would be your favorite thing out of Atomic Habits? Like, what's the one thing that you quote the most out of there?
Probably the one thing that I quote the most is that the power is aligning your actions with your identity. And so one thing that they talk about is, if you're talking about like for instance, a smoker trying to quit, if you aligned your identity to a smoker trying to quit, you're always going to struggle to stop smoking. But if you aligned your identity to somebody that doesn't smoke and you mess up every now and then, you're going to quit smoking. You will quit smoking because you are just saying, you know what, I made a mistake. This is who I am. Let me just continue to reinforce these positive habits. And so everything with me, and everything that I talk with and work with my clients on it starts with identity. That is the most important thing that, for entrepreneurs, for ourselves, and for our businesses, is to really understand and realize that identity. Then everything else can start to fall in line and get into alignment with that. How often are we like fighting our systems or fighting staff because they're not doing what they're told, or our messaging just isn't landing? A lot of these things, they come down to our identity being off. And so that's why I quote Atomic Habits all the time, because I've taken that and I've applied it to the business world, and I've realized, hey, we are absolutely missing something. And identity is the biggest thing. It is where it's at. Once we've got that into alignment, we can start to bring everything in where it needs to be. It's your yeses are easier to say yes to, your no's are easier to say no to, and it just hones everything in.
Yeah, no, I do. I love that one. I'd forgotten about if somebody who's a smoker trying to quit, well, just, you're no longer a smoker. Just say, I'm not a smoker. I don't need to take this 15-minute break every hour to smoke a cigarette because I'm not a smoker.
That's right. And so,
it's crazy how powerful the mind is.
Absolutely. And once we've dealt with that within ourselves, or once we've dealt with that within our business, everything else just starts coming into alignment. Once that's really, really clear. I've seen organizations with a very loosey-goosey identity and mission statement that's not clear. It's vague. It covers a lot of different things, and everybody's like, and they struggle to accomplish things. And it's because it's not laser focused and it's not super clear. And once that is in place, the people that aren't aligned with that identity, they start coming off the bus, right? And the people who are, then it's just a matter of where they sit on the bus, but everybody starts coming in alignment and moving forward in the same direction. It brings everything into order.
Yeah. Now, what about what are you currently reading or maybe currently learning about?
Well, if I was to be a little bit more open about my faith, Francis Chan has written a fantastic book about discipleship, and I think it reflects everything. It reflects everything, really, my viewpoint on everything. And the idea is really we need to be raising up other people to always go beyond ourselves, right? And so if I apply that from a business perspective, everybody around me, I want to raise them up to go beyond me. If I raise up my employees to be able to go beyond me, to take things off and just run. I mean, how often, you have an employee that is incredibly gifted, but you hold them back because you need to be in control. The better thing is yet you empower them, you enable them, and you coach and lead them in a way that they start stepping in and they run and they excel. And if you've done your identity job right, they're moving in the same direction you are as a business, and the business thrives. And so circle back to the discipleship. It's always raising up other people, building them up, and putting them in place so they can step into who they're meant to be.
Yeah, that one was and you said it's Multiply, right?
It's Multiply, yeah.
Is that the name of the book?
It is Multiply, yes.
Yeah, we went through that one a couple of years ago. That's a phenomenal book, just really talking about it. And it matches up real well, like with a lot of the stuff I do with Maxwell training and what have you. I mean, we constantly are referring back to the 5 levels of leadership and how do you go from 1, 2, 3, because I mean, ultimately you want to get into levels 4 and 5 with everybody, but it's hard to get there if you're not doing 1, 2, and 3 well.
I think it couples really well with Patrick Lencioni's his Working Geniuses book, because
I love that one.
Yeah, and so when you've identified where somebody's supposed to be, you as a team, as an organization, you collectively embrace that. You put them in that bus, and then you recognize that with that comes inherent weaknesses, but as a organization, if they can succeed and then pass it off to the next person whose skill set and strength is in those other areas, those complementary areas, the whole organization can succeed. And it brings unity and it brings growth within the team. That you have to be able to call it out and also be vulnerable enough to say, these are my weaknesses. And they match up with your strengths. Can we work together?
I want to take our relationship to the next level. Let's become social media friends. Follow me at Coach Clark Leadership, and let's keep the conversation going in between episodes. Now let's get back to the connection. Yeah, that's one I actually recommend a lot of people to start doing as part of their interview process. And they're like, what? I'm like, if you find a couple of people that you like, make them take it. It's $20. Like, seriously, you tell them you can't afford $20 in the interview process to save you a potential person that you don't need to hire. Because I mean, like for me, I don't need somebody else who's high in discernment and galvanizing. Like those are my genius. I don't need other people right now. We're small enough. I need people who are high in tenacity and wonder.
Or that's good.
invention and enablement. Like I need people who those are at least I need them to either be competent or they're genius, because those are my competence. Well, wonder and tenacity are my frustrations. So I need people who are high in those, or at least have them as competencies. It'd save you a lot of time and energy, because typically they're not high in the ones like I know that's one I found a lot of people's frustrations are galvanizing and discernment.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
Also, what were did you take the test?
I did, yes. And
what were your geniuses?
I'm a wanderer, and I'm a discerner. I think I have an innate ability to say, okay, this will work. This is the way forward. And I sit there and I wonder about it, but actually put it into action, man. I need other people to be able to take that vision and put it into action. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not good at why is it like that? And I'm like, I don't know. Why does the sun rise in the east and set in the west? That's the way God made it. Let's not wonder about that.
And I will spend all week wondering about that. Thank you very much, Aaron. That is what I'm going to wonder about for the next week. I really appreciate that.
Well, that's where I'm going to use my galvanizing. Say, stop thinking about that and get back to work. And you need them all. I think those are critical processes as well. And if you could tell anybody one thing that, about starting a business or new into leadership, what's one thing that you would tell them?
Don't take yourself seriously.
Okay, elaborate.
I think we can take ourselves way too seriously. You have to be able to have a laugh. You have to be able to not take offense. I think you have to be able to be like, that was a silly, stupid mistake. Why in the world did I do that? And then laugh about it. Be like, all right, guys, that was the wrong choice. Clearly, let's keep moving. I apologize. Don't take yourself seriously. Mistakes will happen, but you taking ownership of them and being willing to be like, yeah, I don't know what in the world was going through my head at that time. I must have had bad pizza, bad burrito. I have no idea. I'm sorry. Let's just fix that, move forward, learn all of our lessons from my mistakes, and go for it. But the next little thing is find a group, find a group of people, a community of other entrepreneurs that come around you and be like, yep, we've made those same mistakes as well. And don't worry, it's not the end of the world.
No, that one always is good too. I mean, I like to joke with everybody, I might not always be right, but I'm never wrong. So people just need to get okay with that I'm never wrong. But at working with new and younger people, that they always they're like, so if you're not right, then what are you? And I'm like, I'm just not right. Like that would mean you're wrong, right? And I'm like, no. I'm just not right. Never wrong.
Just slightly off center. Sorry.
Yes. See?
Slightly off center. It's never black and white. It's always steering a ship. So I'm like, I just missed the mark. I just need to turn it a little bit. That's all you have to say. It's just not perfect. Who is?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty close. I'm slightly off center.
Yes, I think we all are off. We are all off center, Aaron.
And then last thing I like to ask everybody, Matthew, is,
oh dear,
what's one thing I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
You got me, man. I mean, we chat about everything. I think you've asked a ton of stuff off camera as well as previous conversations, so I have no idea at this point. Yeah, you should ask me to come back on another time. That's what you should ask me.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely have to get you back on another time. That's not an issue because, I mean, I know we're working on several other events and what have you. So, I mean,
that's right.
That's not an issue at all. But yeah, so if like anybody wants to reach out and get in touch with you, stay connected, how do they connect with Matthew?
LinkedIn is a great way. You could visit me on my website or one of my websites. But let's go with Stratus Business. I think LinkedIn is probably the best way to follow me. And you can also subscribe to my podcast, Startup Stories. There's just a few episodes right now, but I've recorded a number of them. Aaron's one of them. And we're just going to spin that up where I platform small business founders, hear the story, hear their journey, and learn from their lessons, learn from their successes, from their mistakes, and figure out how we can apply them to our own lives and our own journeys. So there you go.
Yeah, awesome. And guys, look, as always, that's down listed below. So it's not like you need to stop. Like, make sure while you're going down there to figure out how to get in touch with him, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, and then subscribe to his podcast. Especially go in and like mine that I do on his. Make it the most liked one, most viewed one. Make it go viral, all the crazy stuff.
Then I'll just have to have you back on mine again.
Yeah. And so, Matthew, I really appreciate you hopping on and spending some time sharing with my listeners. We'll definitely have to do this again, man.
Absolutely. Love it. Appreciate you, man.
What a great conversation with Matthew. There were so many leadership principles packed into this episode, but if there's one theme that kept showing up, it's this. The quality of your business will never consistently exceed the quality of the leader you are becoming. We talked about building your identity before your success, eliminating distractions so you can focus on what matters the most, then making intentional investments instead of simply cutting expenses. We also talked about embracing the realities of entrepreneurship, surrounding yourself with the right community, as well as developing leaders who multiply your impact instead of just solely depending on you. Success isn't about chasing every opportunity. It's about becoming the kind of leader who consistently makes the right decisions, serves their people well, and stays focused on what truly matters most. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow the Clark Connection podcast. Leave us a review. And then share this with another leader or entrepreneur who could benefit from this. Also, make sure you stay connected with us on all social media platforms at Coach Clark Leadership. You'll find all of our content about future events on there, as well as leadership stuff as well. And then go connect with Matthew. Check out his website, follow him on LinkedIn, and then listen to his podcast. All of this information, it's listed below. And then thank you once again to all of our incredible sponsors for supporting this podcast and helping us to continue to bring great conversations to leaders and entrepreneurs every single week. And remember, you don't need to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So keep leading, keep learning, keep connecting, and I'll see you on the next episode, Clark Connection Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Clark Connection Podcast. If today's episode added value to you, do me a favor, follow the show and share it with someone who needs it. You can connect with me at my website, coachaclark.com, or on social media at Coach A. Clark. All the links are in the description. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep connecting.